Hey crafters, it's Leo with Dreaming Tree and welcome to the assembly for our Pencil Perfect box. Now, I'd say it's a thoughtful way to give a back-to-school gift to a teacher or student, or something to consider as a gift box for the eventual end of the school year. Now you could even use it as a playful keepsake box for photos and little treasures in a child's room. It's simple, cheerful, and full of charm. Let's get started. Okay, so we have, well, it's kind of put together in a way where there's not a lot of pieces, but the main part of it is, well, it's kind of like all together for the most part. Now, one of these, I went with the darker yellow for the actual bottom, and this is the lid. The lid has these two little thumb holes. Okay, so we're gonna start with the bottom actually, because that's gonna go really quick. So for the bottom, we're gonna need this piece here without the holes. Then there's this piece that has a little L on it, that's a liner. And we have one additional little piece here that just wouldn't fit on a 12 by 12, so we had to separate it. So what we're gonna do is start off with this little B here at the bottom. B for bottom, it's the tab on the back part of the pencil with the little B on it. And we're gonna apply a little bit of glue on here. Spread that out nicely. So this is gonna be the compartment. Okay, and then what you wanna do, I would just do it this way. Take this piece, spread those tabs away, and just line that up. You want the score marks to line up here as well. And I don't usually do this, but I've grown so comfortable with my Caesar machine, and I trust it so much lately that for this dimensional box, it does help the aesthetic, which is kind of one thing that I always say, but I went with the solid score lines, and I don't regret it, actually. Okay, so let's start building this thing. Well, right on this little piece that we just glued to the main structure, we can apply some glue to this tab. And this process is going to be almost identical for the lid, except for the lid has, obviously it has some more overlays so that it ultimately ends up looking more like a pencil. I put way too much glue on that, by the way. Okay, I'm going to tuck that behind the neighboring piece, the adjacent piece, line that up nicely. You can put that down on your surface, press down on that tab. And that's what happens when you use too much glue. Normally, if I do that, it just grabs. But it was like that old Paul Simon song, just kind of slip sliding away. So you gotta give it a few extra seconds for it to get tacky again. Or not again, but initially. And then it will grab a hold. Then we'll go over to the other side and do the same thing. And you're probably asking yourself, well, why is there a whole nother segment connected to that? Well, that's to reinforce the box and make it a little more durable without having to cut more individual sections out, which is helpful. I'll show you how that all works here in just a moment. You can see this part, this section here, because I put in just the right amount of glue, stayed put. It was not slip sliding away. Okay, now what we can actually do to kind of clean this up a little bit is this little back section here. Just throw a little bit of glue on this. Try to get it out to just a little bit along the sides. Most importantly, right out to the edge here. And just take that and tuck it in up against itself. And like I said, that is essentially gonna kind of sturdy up the box for us, make it good and strong so that it will stand the test of time and not just be one of those disposable items. Okay, so these two long pieces, we're gonna do the same thing with those as well. Okay, let's do that. You can tuck that in onto itself and just use your table as much as possible, just kind of pressing it down against the table. That will also keep things from getting warped and creased. Keep everything nice and straight. And then we'll head over here and we'll get this one in place as well, which will also get it out of the way. Make the rest of this assembly a lot easier. You don't have all these little sections flailing around. And just press that up against itself inside. Press it down. And there we go. Nice strong little box. Okay, so we have two more that are going to go in, but we're not quite ready for that yet because the tabs need to go in place first. Okay, so let's get, here's what I'm going to do. You'll notice that we have a tab here. We need to connect this like so. So let's get that glued down first. Okay, spread that glue out nice and thin. Grab that and line it up. Perfect. You could technically put that down on your surface. Just have to angle it. And use that infinite strength from your table to help you press it into place. And then we'll close up this side. Nice and easy. There we go. And you can fold this over the opposite way temporarily, just so it's easier to get your thumb over here to press this down. So you don't have to have 12-inch fingers to get over here to press this down. Okay, and then finally we need to connect these two sections. I am able to pull it away just enough without having to worry about anything ripping apart. So that's fine. Don't need to do anything special here to get these two sections connected. Okay, there we go, just like that. And hold that in place. There we go. All right, yeah, so like I said, the lid is going to go on the same way. Our base is pretty much done. Okay, so just like we did here and here, let's apply our glue to these little reinforcement walls. And just suck that right in. Press that down. There we go. And the same thing here. You can tell that it's not straight. It kind of has a little bit of a slant inward, because otherwise it just wouldn't work right. There we go. Nice and strong. There we go. Beautiful shape. And then don't forget to take this little piece with the L on it, and that's our liner. That's going to also kind of reinforce this a little bit more. Just throw a little bit of glue right at the bottom of this, and this should slide in. There might be a little bit of friction because of those reinforcement sections. That's also going to keep everything consistent as far as the texture of the paper. All right, so we're going to do the same thing here. Now, the only difference is this little bottom piece is going to be pink instead of this wheat color. And that's because, well, it's the top of the pencil, and we're going to be adding details so that it looks like a pencil, and this is where the eraser is going to be, naturally. Okay, so just like we did before, the side with the tabs, get that lined up with the existing score marks there. And speaking of score marks, these are superior in my experience compared to, I've had the original Maker and the Maker 3. I've not tried the Maker 4, I think they have now, just because I didn't really see that much of a difference aside from the claim that it is faster, I guess. I don't know. Maybe the machine cuts faster. The process of actually getting to the point where you cut, I don't know that they improved upon that. So, but yeah, score marks are fantastic with this machine. It's a little more, you know, it's a give and take. There's a little bit of a more manual process. I guess you could say. Barely. It's like 20 seconds of effort, but saves you a ton of time. All right, I'm gonna move this out of the way just for a second. And just like we did with the bottom, we're gonna tuck this in, line it up, and press it down. Again, I'm folding this little reinforcement piece out, because otherwise I couldn't get my fingers all the way down here. My hand's not big enough. So I'm just folding this in half, and then can very easily get down to the bottom of that tab and press down. Okay, we'll head on over to the other side, do the same thing. And then the rest of it, adding the little details for the pencil, is just a series of little overlays. Some of them are a little larger than what we're probably used to, but it's really not difficult at all. And before you know it, I'd say, I think this file is 6 different colors maybe. So the cutting was really quick. And then assembly, I think probably less than 20 minutes, depending on what you're doing. You know, when I craft, when I'm not filming, I get distracted and yada yada. When I'm filming for you guys, things kind of really happen. They go quick. All right, so let's do the same thing here, and let's fold these little pieces in just to get them out of the way, make the rest of this go a little smoother so we don't have as many obstructions. So we'll glue that one in. Okay, and then the cool thing is that these side walls will naturally, automatically cover up the tabs as well, which is a nice added little bonus. Go ahead and apply your glue here, all the way out to the edge, like so. Throw a little bit in the center for good measure. Fold that over onto itself, press down. There we go. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So you get the idea here. Yeah, we just actually, we were a little behind schedule with our back to school releases, but you know, the way I look at it is you have it early for next year. And also this back to school stuff, it comes in handy, not just at the beginning of the year, but I think actually it may be more relevant at the end of the year when you want to, you know, thank the teachers, bus drivers, whoever it may be, for everything they've done for your kids all year. So, you know, back to school isn't just a one season sort of thing. It's actually 2 if you think about it. All right, so we're going back over here. We just did this with the bottom, so nothing's changing here. We'll bring this over, line that up, and you can see here, this is the top of it. This is the only part of this structure that is actually still going to be visible after we apply our panels. So I did put a little bit of ink here, and I may actually do a little bit of ink on this side too. I kind of overlooked that, but that's okay. It's not too late. Can always do it later. So let's get that in place. Fold this tab in. Let's pull that one back and apply our glue here, like so, forming the tip of the pencil. I've seen some variations of this sort of box out there in the world. I think ours is nicer. I'm a little biased, I think, but that's okay. It's just nicely constructed, very durable, and, you know, just what you would expect from a Dreaming Tree project. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this up now with this tab. And like I said, we're pretty much more than halfway home at this point. This is probably a good beginner project for someone that wants to start with 3D paper crafting. We don't have a lot of crazy angles. And, you know, it's a little more exciting than, I don't know, like a simple tea light, even though those are cool. Okay, so we've got that. And just like we did the first time, we'll go ahead and close this up, reinforce those sides. And this one does not have a liner on the inside because we have some additional layers going on the outside, which will help sort of stiffen and make things stronger. So we didn't want to, you don't need to waste, don't need to add more paper than you need. We don't have like a R&D department like they, we don't have like crash test dummies testing everything out, but it'll be fine. This thing will definitely do its job. I have paper projects behind me that I've had for a long time, and they're doing just great. Okay, so there's that. Now, one other thing that we need to do is, we can start wherever. We can start at the bottom, we can start at the top. I'm gonna start at the top, okay? And you have this piece here, and that's gonna go on like a little roof. And you'll notice that there's some tabs up in front. Don't worry about the tabs just yet, although you can, if you want, put glue on this entire piece. Make sure you get a little bit of glue out to the edge. Go like that. And just throw a little bit on those tabs. And those tabs are there to help make this nice and seamless. Okay, so the tabs are gonna go towards the front. Just line this up with the, it's almost like we're making a house kinda. And then those tabs should go flush onto the face. Should be perfectly flush with this section here, for the most part. You can put that down on your surface, press down there. You can rotate it this way to push down on that side. And then you can rotate it this way to push down on this side. And that is what we should end up with. So that we can put this part on. And we added the little tabs in case things did not line up perfectly, so that everything looks nice and seamless. And then you can also just throw a little bit of glue on this as well. Just for good measure, line that up with the existing section there. Kind of use your fingers to feel that angle. Make sure it matches up nicely. Pop that down on your surface, push from the inside. Okay, there's that. Looks good. Okay, next, we'll just kind of work our way down, which means that it's time for this big panel here. And we do have this guy here, and this is that little, that liner that we're talking about. That's gonna go in there to make those little lines yellow, but also to reinforce this. So let's go ahead and apply our glue onto this whole section here. Might be some areas where, excuse me, where the glue is in sections where it probably doesn't need to be, barely, but it's okay. I'm gonna have my texture side out. Just pop that right on there, make sure it's good and centered, and that it's not encroaching on any of the score lines on these two sections. Press that down, and flip it over, push down from the outside, it's fine. Okay. And then the way this is gonna work is we're gonna take this, we're gonna glue this on top, like so. And you can see the pencil starting to come together. Why don't we just work one section at a time here? So let's do the center first. I like to always go from the middle out. There's going to be a little bit of dimension here as well because of that extra layer, which is fine. And the trick here is to just make sure that we get these little thumb holes matched up nicely. Okay, so, and then also make sure it's flush with the back. Both of those can be true at the same time. There we go. And there we go. You can flip that over, push down from the inside, get that to stick. Okay. There we go. Perfect. And then we'll glue down each side here. A little bit of glue here. Make sure you work that perimeter nicely. A little bit along the inside. And close that up. There we go. looks good. We'll head over to the other side, same thing. Work that glue around the perimeter. Oops. Perfect. Okay, make sure it's nice and flush. There we go. Perfect. Okay, cool. So we have an eraser, and then you know that little separator between the eraser and the pencil that we cut out of a nice silver foil. Okay, let's get this glued on like so. So just like we did before, this is going to go flush at the bottom. Just like we did before, let's start with the center of it. Okay, bring this down flush with the bottom. You should be able to kind of run your finger along this edge here, and it should feel, you shouldn't see anything when you're looking at it this way beyond the bottom. So it should be good and flush. Let's pull this back, apply some glue all the way out to the edge, and fold that over. That looks nice. Do the same thing here. Fold that over. Press that down. Okay, and then we have one more little cap because, well, if you look at it from this angle, a little bit of yellow there. We wanted to cover that up, make it look perfectly seamless, and that's what that's for. Let's actually apply our glue to this piece here, and we're going to get that glue all the way out to the very edge as best as we can. There we go. Pop that on there. The most important thing here is to make sure it's flush with the top and the two sides. The bottom is where, if things aren't matching up properly, it's okay, because that's not going to be as visible as everything else. Pop that down on your surface, press down, and then take a look at all your seams. Should look pretty flawless. Mine looks great. Okay, and last but not least, we have this little guy, and he's going to go flush up against the very, what happened here? What are you doing there? There. He's going to go flush up against the top of this. Now, there's a lot of little cutouts in this to replicate the look of a real pencil. I would not be concerned with trying to get glue in between every single one of those little sections. Just focus on the perimeter of the center. That'll stick. There'll be plenty, trust me. Okay, and again, just pop that on there until it makes contact with the eraser. Make sure these two sections that have the score marks match up with the two edges here. Perfect. Whoops. Just hold that in place for a moment, and then you can take this, flare this one out, and same applies here. Don't worry about trying to get glue in between every single one of these. Maybe just do a handful, like 2 or 3, and go ahead and fold it over. Make sure it's flush with the eraser, like so. You can put that on your surface and press down. Sometimes foil likes to absorb fingerprints and all kinds of weird stuff, so to avoid that, try to push on it indirectly. Okay, and the last little step here. Perfect. Beautifully engineered. Okay, there we go. So there's your pencil top, bottom, and of course you've got the little thumb slits there, and your pencil is good to go. It's going to do it. So this perfect pencil box is exclusively available on Creative Fabrica through an all-access membership. For those of you that have joined us over there, thank you so much. If you have not yet, please consider joining us at Creative Fabrica. Your support helps us do this forever. So we could use your support. It's $47 a year, and you get everything we've ever made in the past, everything we're making now, and anything we make in the future. So again, happy first day of school. I hope you had a blast, and as always, I look forward to crafting with you again.